In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to America in Black and White, Season 3, Episode 156. I'm your host, Charles King, and tonight we're joined by a visionary who is reshaping the way LGBTQ plus travelers experience the world. From London, UK, Steve Morris is the founder of Outbound Travelers Experience, Outbound Adventures, a platform built on freedom, safety, and authenticity. With a decade of experience flying as cabin crew, Steve saw a glaring gap in the travel industry where LGBTQ plus travelers were either herded into grid group tours or sold generic party packages with no depth. He decided to build what didn't exist, curated adventures that combine stunning European escapes and queer Afro travel experiences with thoughtful local insight. Steve has cultivated a loyal following through his witty Beehive newsletter and no fluff storytelling on LinkedIn and Instagram, offering practical tips, sharp opinions, and a refreshing absence of cookie cutter group tour vibes. His work is not just about travel, it's about empowerment, identity, and creating spaces where LGBTQ plus travelers can thrive. Tonight, we'll explore his life story, his entrepreneur journey, his expertise in project management, and why Barack Obama stands as the most influential figure in his career and connection to Black history. This is a conversation about freedom, authenticity, and legacy. Let's welcome Steve Morris to America in Black and White. Hello, sir.
Charles, good evening. How's it going? Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, just it's wonderful to have you here. Is there anything you'd like to add so the audience can know anything in particular before we get into the show?
No, I'll lay it out as I go through. No, that's fine.
Okay. Well, let's start with with your life story and background, and tell us about your early life in London and what shaped your love for travel.
Oh, good question. So, I was born in London to Caribbean immigrant parents. They came over. So my mum is from Guyana, top of South America, and my father's from Barbados. And they met over in London and started and grew a family. And I'm the youngest of four. So that's my background. And I stayed in London and lived there pretty much ever since. Um, and I suppose my love of travel, Charles, really came from an early age. Now, we had a pretty religious upbringing, probably like most Caribbean um, families. And I remember that we went on a trip. When I say we, it's myself and my mum. At the time, my older brothers and sisters couldn't go. And she took me on this trip to Ireland. Now, if you've ever been to London or in the city, it's very multicultural. There's just lots of different races. And it was a part of a church trip. And we went to Ireland to visit another family and to visit the congregation over there. And just stepping on a plane, an aeroplane for the first time as an 8, 9 year old, was absolutely mind blowing. We take it for granted now, don't we? But at that age, I was absolutely fascinated. So there was that aspect. But then I got to meet people who lived differently. This was quite a rural community um, in Ireland at the time. They hadn't come across many people of color in their experience, and I had never seen landscape and fields and farms and anything like it. I was absolutely fascinated. I'm smiling because it seems quite normal now. But those early travel memories really shaped my love of travel. And it's not just about going to a pretty destination, it's meeting people who are living differently, who are doing things differently, who are thinking differently. And I love that. I'm a curious person. I think one of my gifts probably is that I like people, but I'm curious about what makes people happy, what makes them tick, um, and their life experience. So those kind of early moments really shaped my love of travel. Funny enough, I never really got into travel until much later on in life.
Mhm.
Went to school, started working in the corporate world, and then, as you said, I started flying as a flight attendant probably around the age of about 30. And then I did that for about 10 years. And what that did for me was, as a gay black man, being in the travel industry, but also working with a lot of people from the LGBTQ community, was really fascinating, really enjoyable. Flying for a national airline was just so much fun, and it really got me that buzz, that travel bug, and I absolutely loved it for the time that I was doing it.
So, how did your decade as a cabin crew influence your worldview?
Oh, that's a very good question. I got a I got a seat. I got a front row seat as to how not only how people travel, but why they travel. It gave me an insight to some of the difficulties and the worries that people face. Sometimes it's not about the plane. Sometimes it's not about, the services. Sometimes it's about the hotel. Sometimes it's about trying to navigate family dynamics. Sometimes it's about, I don't want to go on this tour with a load of other people doing the same thing. I actually fancy a little bit of freedom and I want to do things my way. And I think for me, I always made the point of whenever I saw somebody or a group of LGBTQ kind of identified people, I would strike up a conversation. Okay, so where are you going? Or why are you going? Or why are you going there? And what recommendations do you have? And what drew you to this place? And those conversations over years that I had, not only with fellow travelers or passengers, but also with my colleagues at the time, that kind of shaped my worldview. And what I found out is that people really want to experience something a little bit different. It's okay to just go to a beach, which is fine, absolutely no problem with that. But people want richer experiences. And sometimes with the gay community, we don't get that. We're sort of put into a box in terms of gay travel has to be parties, cruises with thousands of people, all in speedos, and it's kind of this very um, kind of commercialized viewpoint that people have of gay travel. It's normally, you know, abs, six pack guys in skimpy underwear, lots of glitter and lots of sort of techno music in the background. And that's only one aspect. People want richer experiences, and that's what I suppose Outbound Adventures it caters for. And not everyone wants to travel in a big group. Sometimes it just wants you and your partner or a small group of friends. So how can you make a trip really fascinating and enriching and rewarding um, when you do that? So yeah, that's where that case comes in from.
So, with that experience, and with you having that front row seat to seeing
Mhm.
what travel was. Um, what were you instantaneously thinking about? The separatism of how it applied to the LGBTQ community, and what you saw was missing, or was that one of those things that you was thinking from a long haul perspective of what you just wanted to do?
Probably a little bit of both. I think it's seeing that gap in the market, and another thing is seeing that when I looked online and all the influencers and the travel creators, not many looked like myself. Not many were people of color who were going to nice places and talking about their travel experiences. We experience travel as Black people, especially, differently to your mainstream. Um, Sometimes we face kind of that double challenge of either being from a queer perspective, but also from a Black perspective, and taking on people's perceptions or their stereotypes and having to navigate that. And that's in every situation, whether that's in a hotel, whether that's in a bar, whether that's on the street. So I thought it was really important to have one, that representation of people of color in travel, because very few are out there, especially from the gay community or the LGBTQ community. But also that, like you were saying, that front row seat was um, inspiring. And I always thought, I think I could. There's a space for me in this world, um, and I think I can create something that's a little bit different um, for travelers. That would be really beneficial. So yeah, it's probably a little bit of both to answer your question.
So, what gaps did you notice in the travel industry that inspired Outbound Adventures?
Yeah. So how I see it is you've got, and I've alluded to this before. So what I call the party circuit or the beach circuit or the speedo circuit, which is that mainstream, generally kind of sort of Caucasian male, glitter, baby oil, all dancing to techno music in on some beach, either in Europe or parts of the US. And that was the kind of world that I saw. But then you've also got maybe the luxury circuit, so some things that are really high priced and exclusive, beautiful, but really exclusive. And I felt that might not be attainable for everybody. So I found also that there's a gap within the adventure travel where it's this case of, oh, let's go to these far-flung places across the world, really remote. Um, and again, you've probably heard it around in a group tour. And again, that didn't feel inclusive to me. So the gaps in between was, how can we do something that feels inclusive to everybody, that's flexible, and where people can have the choice to do what they wanted to do. So a little bit of city, so a little bit of grounding where there's an LGBTQ community, but then also that flexibility to do the holiday that you want and have really richer stories. And it's so interesting how that message has resonated with the people that follow me either on social media or through the newsletter. So many people have said, Steve, that's exactly kind of what I want. I don't want to just be on this ship or this cruise with
Right.
thousands of other kind of gay guys dancing to techno. And Steve, I actually don't have this budget to blow a small mortgage on some far-flung holiday. I'm not sure I would enjoy it. So having something in between and having some recommendations really filled that gap.
Mhm. So, who were your biggest influences growing up?
Oh, that's a good one. I, in terms of kind of travel, I would we have a lot of TV programs here in the UK, and there's quite a few. I'm just trying to think of a TV program that I could mention, but something like a nature program like David Attenborough, who's a very famous documentarian. He would talk about, the animals and all those things, but it's the places that he would go to. And I remember I've watched nature programs, not just for the nature, but also for the scenery, for the travel. And that has been a really big influence for me growing up. But also, there's people online that I've gotten to know as well who are doing some really fantastic things in the travel space. So yeah, there's quite a few, and I think also people just in my life that love travel, that I've traveled with, they've also been an inspiration to me. Hearing other people's stories, I love that. Charles, a lot of people get bored if you show them your vacation snap. You go through three or four and you think, yeah, 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 okay, thanks. Yeah, I know you had a good holiday. I'm the opposite. I'm wanting to see the whole thing. Oh, where did you go and what did you do here? And I'm the one asking questions about their vacation and how it went and what they've experienced. And that natural curiosity has just kind of come through.
So I'm assuming, and you can tell us this. So like when you got your first experience in flying, and when you became a part of the crew, and you were flying then, is it that when you were going to these different places, were you always just seeking out what's the thrills? What are people really doing? And if so, why was that such a main part for what you're doing now?
I did. That's exactly what I did. Yeah, I wanted to go to the tourist spots, but I wanted to find out what people, because it's more interesting. We could all go somewhere and just sit on a beach and have loads of mojitos and wear matching shirts. I don't know. But to me, that doesn't feel like a rich story. When you travel, what a lot of people want to do is see how the locals live or see what's that hidden bar, or what do the locals where are the non-touristy spots, where's somewhere that I'm not going to be charged double the price and it's just full of other English speakers or other Brits or other Americans. They want that authenticity, they want that authentic experience of the place, right? So that was my thrill, was yeah, I'll go to somewhere, even somewhere, whether it could be like Paris or Madrid or somewhere that's a big city, but I still wanted to go behind that curtain. Right. So where are the non-tourists going? Where's that little cafe bar? Where's that little queer gay bar that's probably not on the top 10 list to go to? I found that fascinating. I found that interesting. And because it was in those places, I made conversations. I had conversations. I made friends. I made contacts, and it was just a much more interesting experience.
So can we compare this to, let me just say this because I mean I
Mhm.
just love hearing you say that because whenever I would go, it didn't matter what the city, the state, or the country that I went to, I always did this one thing, and that is I wanted to find my people.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I know that's not touristy at all. So I want to find that spot.
Mhm.
And so in finding that spot, like how you what you were looking for, uh, what was more in depth to the intrigue of you looking for that spot? Because when you find your people, you feel safe and you feel comfortable,
Mhm.
and so you can let your hair down, you can just relax. So, what were some of those things that made that spot for you?
Yeah, it was that. It was, you're able to let your hair down, like you say, and you can feel comfortable, but you can also find out. So, for instance, when was it last year I went to Lisbon and I did this queer Lisbon tour. It was a walking tour. Funny enough, there were only two people, just me and this other lady, on the tour. But the information that I found from someone living in that city, and it was actually she was Brazilian lady, so she was coming at it from the sort of kind of black angle, the queer angle, and the kind of people of color that have moved into that city, into Portugal, and the places that have been set up. And you wouldn't think that this is kind of a queer owned or a gay bar. It wasn't like that. It was just these little communities. And I found that fascinating. And they were so glad to have, myself and this other person to be able to sit down and just chat about, yeah, I came here 20 years ago and this is what it was like. And this is, that shop over there, that's owned by another queer business, and that place is owned, and you must go here and tell them about me who sent you. It's all that, those connections, that it's not just about finding your people in one place. It's then that network that you get, and those other little recommendations that you would not find in a rough guide or a lonely planet. You only get that from talking to the locals.
Mhm. So, how did your identity as an LGBTQ plus traveler shape your perspective on freedom and safety?
Oh, well, that's a really good question. When I think about how, whenever I travel, I'm thinking about safety and freedom. So I want to feel safe, that, that in terms of like a homophobia, so I want to feel safe. And I want to still, but at the same time, still be free. I don't want to just go to a place, sit in a hotel because that's safe. I still want to go out. And so how my perceptions changed was really finding my people and doing the research ahead of time. Those two things could mean that you know where to go, where not to go, you and you're sensible about it.
Yeah.
Now, as a travel curator, it's my responsibility. People are coming to me to say, Steve, can you plan this trip? Can you pull it together? And I've got to think safety first, safety first. So I'm not going to recommend to go to a neighborhood that's a bit dodgy, or to go to a country where those safety kind of regulations aren't there. It's really on my responsibility. I do feel that personal responsibility to make sure I recommend things. So you travel differently. I think so. And my the way I move for a place is a little bit different. But I think the first thing is do that research. Make sure that you've got, people that you can, or organizations that you can call or ring if anything goes, and just think of contingencies, I would say. And it's about being sensible, about being a little bit streetwise. I grew up in central London. So if you're coming from a big city, either in Europe or in the States, you walk with a certain confidence, and you're streetwise. It's that aspect of it as well, right?
It's a natural instinct.
Yeah, yeah, and just be sensible. You know, things about not. Yeah, you just be sensible.
So, what personal experiences made you realize the need for curated LGBTQ plus travel?
Personal experiences. Well, I got a lot of those through flying. Um, so my favorite destination when I was flying was Beirut in Lebanon, in the Middle East.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Oh, I know, right? You didn't expect that coming. So now, at the time of we're recording this in 2025, it's not a place I would recommend, because I know that there are,
Right.
it's not a safe place at the moment. So please, listeners, don't go take my recommendation right at this minute. But when I was flying, they call it the Nice of the Middle East. So when you think of Nice in South France,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. There's money, there's gorgeous beaches, um, and it's kind of that. And I just had the best time, and that was because I did the research, but also as cabin crew, you go to the same place, you know, over
Mhm.
and over again. So we managed to eke out a little bit of a network, and we knew people that we could go to who could literally get us from the hotel, show us a really good time, show us Beirut, take us to day trips, take us to certain bars and clubs, and it was just absolutely fantastic. So those kind of personal experiences helped me to see that, oh, this could be replicated. with a bit of due diligence, contacts on the ground, doing the research, I could actually replicate some of those experiences for other people, and 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 those kind of things kind of shape my how I curate. You
Mhm.
know, there's some wonderful hotels, there's some wonderful places that you can go to, but you've just got to do a little bit of digging. And sometimes what you see online is, oh, top 10 places to go, or top 10 this, or, and I would just say, there's other places, you know, dig a little bit deeper, do your research, because there's some fabulous experiences that you can have that I've had. So definitely.
So, can you share a defining moment when you knew you had to become an entrepreneur?
Oh, there's been so many. I've tried, probably like most entrepreneurs, I've tried a few businesses in the past. I've tried, where do I start? I've tried kind of a marketing business. I've tried selling things on Amazon. I've tried so many different ventures that haven't quite hit the mark. But I think one of those defining moments is sitting in an office in my kind of 30s and just thinking, this is soul destroying. I've really got to find another way to make a living and to do something that's fulfilling. It's horrible. um, and so, and flying was good because it didn't feel like an office job. It was exciting, tiring but exciting. And when I'd finished flying, I was always thinking, okay, so I finished flying, I had to go back into that environment of an office job, and it just killed my soul. So that's when I decided, right, I need to find a way to start thinking about entrepreneurship, and what can I do, and then looking at what are my interests. I really do like, as a whole, the LGBT community. I love our people. So I wanted to be in that world, and I love travel. Why not put the two together? One of the things that you mentioned in your intro is that I'm also a project manager. So that's structure, right? That's planning, structure, seeing something from the start to the end. What a perfect union between travel, which can be very creative, and then that structure, planning things, making sure things run accordingly, and to your plan, right, and doing that research. Um, so the defining moment kind of came when I realized, oh, hold on, these two things can really mesh really well together, and I've got the skill set and the kind of aptitude and the willingness to do it.
Well, I will say this, and just noticing your bubbly personality. You are just definitely about the people, and you have this outgoing personality that's infectious. So, I mean, how dare you put that in a bottle in an office?
I know, right? Oh, yes, yes, that is my point exactly. You know, and you're right, because I think my personality has helped me navigate, especially situations abroad. I'm quite approachable. I'm a smiley guy, and it's helped me to meet people, get to know people, and kind of have those experiences. You know what? I'm not too stiff, or that typical British stiff upper lip. You know, I like to, go out, dance, have fun, like meet people, and that has helped as well.
Right. So how has your family or community supported your journey?
They've been absolutely fantastic. As I say, I'm the youngest of four, so my brothers and sisters have been there all the time, and maybe because I'm their baby brother, right? So that's sort of a natural. Um, but it wasn't always that way. You know, when I came out in my sort of mid 20s, and it was there was a period of adjustment, especially coming out, when as a religious, sort of coming exiting the religion and then coming out as a gay person. It didn't go down well.
Ooh, that Christianity.
Where do we start? However, over time, they softened and they're my biggest cheerleaders. I love them to death. And I also find my chosen family, right? As we do, we find friends that have been there for the journey. So yeah, they've been absolutely great. Absolutely great on every level.
So, what challenges did you face breaking into the travel industry?
I think the challenges are around saying something different. So it's easy just to do the whole speedo thing, the beach thing with the baby oil and the techno music. That's quite easy. But when you turn around and you're saying, I think there's another way. The challenge is there is breaking through the noise and building that community, building that following where people can kind of listen to a different message. They want those speedo pics, right?
Okay.
So, which no, I'm not going to be doing that. So that was probably that was my main challenge, is just having that message that was just a little bit different. Um, and also just building something from scratch. I've never done, even though I've been in the travel industry, building a business is completely different. Building a venture that's profitable, getting clients, making sure that they're having a really good experience. That's a totally different skill set. And so I've had to learn literally as I've been going along how to do this. So that's been a challenge.
Well, you know something? I'm going to tell you, I actually, as you know, when we chatted, and I was thinking, as we were talking, because I was actually visualizing. And I got to tell you that your vision that you've come up with, and how you have built your house with these strong walls and foundation, I will tell you that I think your idea is more than just a trend. It's a captivating industry on its own, because not saying that people worry about stereotypes, but it cuts away the stereotype where you're actually doing real travel that specializes not just to the LGBTQ community, but probably other folk. But the LGBTQ community is the top tier. And I think what you're building is something that a lot of people should only not just know, what this is, but they need to know the person behind it. And I really love this idea and how you're making it more than just come to life, but it's like it's growing. And so I'm very proud of you for one thing.
Oh, thank you. That's warms my heart. Literally, it warms my heart. I think one of the things that you see in the travel industry, a lot of it is about destinations. Obviously, we're talking travel, but one of the things I try to do is talk about those worries that people are thinking. What's happening before you plan a trip? What's literally happening 6 months before? What are those use cases, I call them, for planning a trip or going on a vacation? What do people worry about? So it might be that, one of the latest articles I put out was around you walking into a hotel and you get that, oh, can we have a double bed? You get that sort of that look from the receptionist or from the staff, those awkward moments that make you feel stared at. You might be in a hotel and people sort of staring at you in the restaurant, from being a rainbow family or a mixed family or an LGBTQ family. People don't really talk about that. How does that feel? How can we navigate things like that?
Mhm.
What about different family dynamics? That could be a thing. So what I try to do in my content as well is not just talk about, oh, go here, go there, yes, but what else is happening for you inside your brain that's worrying, or where there are some fears that we might just need to talk about, and how we can navigate them. What sort of tips can I give from what I've seen as a gay traveler?
And so, what role does storytelling play in your life and work?
people remember stories. They remember the lessons from a story. So if I can not just tell my story, I think that's really important to tell my story and some of my experiences, but also tell the stories of others who I've either helped or I've listened to, or friends or family. Um, it it helps people see that they could actually travel too. They could do this too, and I think that's so important. Storytelling is a mirror to say, oh, this person had a really good experience, and here's why. Maybe I can have a similar experience. Maybe I have a story. I can create a story on this particular, vacation. And so it's really important for that. But also going back to my earlier point, storytelling allows, I suppose it allows the barriers to come down. If I just preach at people, do this, do that, the barriers go up. A story allows people to relax and think about the lessons and the tips and the practical aspects to it that they can apply, especially when regards to travel. Right? So I think it's really good. And in terms of storytelling within my life, I love to read. Um, I mean, I read a lot of non-fiction, but still, it's wrapped up in stories and lessons. I'm reading a fantastic book, and it's an oldie but a goodie. It's called The Success Principles. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. A very well-known non-fiction book. The Success Principles are basically principles, as the name suggests, that kind of help you get to the next level. But the way the author wraps up the stories and the experiences, fantastic, and it just makes me remember that principle and the story he told about it. So then that's going to help me when I'm trying to put that stuff into practice.
Mhm. So now that people have gotten, so our audience now get an understanding of you and knowing you, the person that you are, let's go a little bit more in depth here. Let's talk more about your entrepreneur journey. And can you tell us what was the first step you took to launch Outbound Adventures?
Well, there's a good story behind this, because Outbound Adventures is actually the second iteration of my entrepreneurial journey in this space. I first launched in 2023. Um, sorry, in 2024, I launched Gay Couple Getaway. So that was essentially a blog um, that was aimed at gay couples, and it was about vacations for gay couples. Fine. However, what I learned was it flopped. So one of the key lessons was trying to understand why that happened, looking at the data, looking at the numbers, looking at what I was doing or not doing, and then launching something different, which is Outbound Adventures, which is much more inclusive, which has a stronger mission, a stronger vision, and that has resonated immensely with followers and people that I'm interacting with. So that was kind of an interesting lesson and a jumping point to that. But also, as I was saying, in terms of kind of my entrepreneurial journey, trying businesses, just putting myself out there and seeing what works, but seeing what works for me, because it's not just about doing a business. I really wanted to do something where I could think I could do this for 10 years, 20 years, and not be bored. I can't just be in a business just to make money. You've got to
Right.
be in it because you actually love the topic and you can see yourself kind of living in that space for a long time. And the stuff that I've tried before the travel didn't really tick those boxes. I was just trying to make some, a quick buck, so to speak. But here I found my purpose. I really feel I have.
Mhm. So, I wanna. Well, let me just do one follow up
Yeah, go on.
to this, and because I mean, I think that's really interesting. So, first of all, let me ask you: have you been to the U.S. before?
Yes, yes, on a few
Okay.
occasions.
So, in coming to the U.S. and with you being in the UK,
Mhm.
and you doing your business based on your foundational principles, the things you like, and how you want to best serve people or those that really you feel would benefit from
Mhm.
this kind of service that's more specialized and it's not just a cookie cutter. When you think about the UK and you think about the US, how could you do those different? Or what would you do better if you did the same thing you're doing there here in the US?
Oh, I don't think I would change much because that principle of having your base or being near accessible to let's say a queer community, but then also not doing the group tour thing and having that nature plus city combination, um, those kind of specialist in-depth research recommendations. Will go here, this beautiful little guest house, there's this great B&B owned by the kind of queer couple, and it's fantastic, and go here and do that. I would still um, kind of bring that into to doing travel within the US. You know, your country's actually got some really beautiful spots, and so it lends itself to outbound adventures really nicely. So I wouldn't really change much what I'm doing. Um, it will just be kind of tailored to
Okay.
some of those locations you guys have got.
Mhm. So, how did you build trust with your audience in such a niche market?
Being real, being authentic. My very one of the very first posts that I put on LinkedIn was, I've just started this. I don't know what I'm doing. I really could do with your help, but this is the vision. These are the gaps that I've seen, and I think this could work because of X, Y, and Z. So being authentic from the very start, you know, and it's there in black and white. I always say I haven't been to every single destination that I recommend, but myself or um, or a team member, a virtual assistant, and we've done the research, we've done the homework so that you don't have to. So I like to recommend places that I've been to, but I haven't been to everywhere in the whole world. I mean, that's just impossible. I'm working on it. Um, so being that authentic voice and saying, "Hey, I don't think there are enough black people or black gay people or queer people in this space. And so I'm going to say it and I'm going to be the visible representation."
All right.
So I think that builds trust when people can see that you're not just trying to be, Billy Big Balls and, you know, oh yeah, I've got all of this and I'm doing this and showing just the highlights. I think I even put out a post today to say I've struggled. This has been a struggle. I had to learn this. I had to learn that. I had to learn that, and I'm not even that good at it, but I'm giving it a go, right? And I think that builds trust because people can see that I'm a real person. I'm not a robot. I'm saying how it is, and that makes them trust me a little bit more.
I tell you, I gotta say this. Um, Today, I saw your post on
Hmm.
LinkedIn today, and I've got to tell you, when you click more, and as I was going down and I was reading that post, I mean, that was truly an authentic, heartfelt post. I love the post. I really do. Now, you've got to tell me, what is it that makes you put that much into that post? Because there was so much feeling and emotion there, and it's like, especially when you got to the part where you say you had a few tears in writing this because it's only
100%.
been 7 months.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so tell me, what was that about?
Well, I was thinking I actually want to do a bit of a reflective. So I was thinking about content, yes, in a kind of a very cold way. I thought, right, I want to put some content out. And then I thought, actually, Steve, what have you learned? What what's been going on? and I just started reflecting. It's been brewing, I think, for a couple of days, to be honest. And I thought today, actually, I'm gonna just write down what I feel that I've learned and what I'm going through. Not for a pity party or anything else. I just want it to be real because there's been some successes, as you saw in the post, but there's also been some learning. And I just think I wanted to share. I wanted to tell people. And that's the thing. It goes back to the earlier point of it's not just for me. It's not just about, oh, go to Paris, oh, go to this place, or go to there. Every other creator is doing that. Every other travel person is, doing that. But telling your story, what you're going through, what you're feeling, the highs, the lows, like you say, builds trust. And I think and I want people to get to know me. I want people to, because that know, like, and trust is good for business, but it's also good for networking. I think LinkedIn is good because they are real people. There's something about LinkedIn, you think everyone that follows you, that likes, there's a human being behind that who's taken the time to click on, comment, or like, or whatever, the post. So I'm going to be real. I'm going to show you the real Steve, but I've got nothing to hide. And hopefully there's someone who be thinking, oh, actually, I feel the same, and I can resonate with that. Resonates with me, and I can relate to that. So I just reflected and thought I'm gonna just put it down. Otherwise, if I think too hard about it, I won't do it. If I start second guessing myself, I think, oh no, I won't do that. Post it,
Oh
folder it
no, I
up,
mean,
and then
no, you
see what
must do
happens.
that. You must do that because I'm telling you, you write about one thing. I think when you get the opportunity to read a post like that, and as you say, when people take the time to read a post like that, then I'm sure that you got to say, how are people really taking this? But I think you pretty much know that when you get the likes, you get the comments, and you get the repost because I reposted
You
your
did,
post.
thank you.
I reposted that post because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, oh wow. See, this is again, these are some of the things I think that you bring to what you're doing now that really is going to make all of your clientele be very, very comfortable because they're getting you. And as
Yeah,
long as they get you, that's
100%.
all
Yeah,
that matters.
yeah. And I really don't think anyone's looking for perfection. They want a professional service. Obviously, you want professionalism, but no one's expecting perfection. And if you can, and my thing is about coming across as someone who's authentic. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm competent and I can do a really good job. And obviously, that shows in some of the numbers and the stats that I have shown on that post. But but people aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for someone who's hardworking, who's got good ethics, who will do the work, and who would look after them. And it's exactly from coming from a customer service point of view as cabin crew, and coming from the travel love of travel, and then coming from that project manager, the three come together, and you're going to be looked after and get a really great service. But also, you're going to get an authentic person doing that for you.
So, what makes outbound adventures different from traditional group tours?
The big thing for me, and this is sort of my mission statement, is around that we don't do rigid group tours. Now, let me just pause because I do get some heat for this.
But
I understand. Oh, woo, I get heat. I get heat. I understand that, especially if you're going to a new place, you might want to meet people, you might want the company, you might want the safety of a group tour, and that is understandable. However, how we're different is that I'm not a fan of waking up at 7 o'clock or being told you must wake up at this time, you must have breakfast at this time, you must have lunch at this time, dinner at this time, and then we're going to do this at this time, and it's all mapped out for you, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. Where a lot of these group tours, and it takes the excitement out of it. It takes it really takes the adventure out, in my opinion. It takes the adventure out of it, and not everybody kind of wants that. A trip, Charles, should have rhythm. So it should have excitement, it should have downtime, it should have sort of chilling out, it should have kind of different elements so that you don't come back needing another vacation. You don't come back thinking, oof, oof, I've just gone, 100 miles an hour each day and I haven't really rested because I had to fit in all of these things.
Right.
And so my thing around the no group tours is, oof, you get space to breathe. You get space to do some structured things, some really good events, but then you also get your own rhythm behind it. And that's what makes it feel restorative. And that makes you kind of feel like, yeah, I've had a really good time. And I've left gaps for spontaneity as well, which is really important.
So, how do you balance freedom and safety in your curated trips?
Yeah, so again, I think the freedom aspect of it is making sure it's not rammed in terms of itinerary. So you get literally you get the time freedom to do what you want, um, but also you want some structure. You want to know that you've got some really good kind of points of interest to go and see. But then you're free. You're not being told you've got to wake up here, you've got to do this, you've got to go here, you've got to go there, unless that's something that you want to do. So that's one thing. The balancing the safety is ensuring that I'm not recommending something that is unsafe, going to a place that I haven't vetted properly. So whether that could be kind of like neighborhoods or things to see or places to go, I would make sure that I'm doing the vetting to ensure that I'm not sending someone, dodgy street in the back end of a city. I just wouldn't feel comfortable. And making sure that I've done that research, I've double checked that, talking to people on the ground, and making sure that it's a safe space, and then providing some little tips or recommendations as a contingency plan as well.
So, tell us, where are you right now at this point when it comes to your sponsorships and partnerships, as you're doing your trips? Where are you at that point?
So I'm still building my kind of still building my Rolodex of the partners that I'm working with. One thing I'm really excited about is next November 2026, I'm partnering with another travel company for a Afro queer trip to Buenos Aires in Argentina. So that trip, which it's going to be really special, it's based around the Pride. So you've got the Pride weekend, but then you also have the Afro Argentine celebration. So that's celebrating Black history within Argentina,
Hmm.
and it's a bit like a carnival celebration. So the
Okay.
trip is based around kind of those two events. But what I've also built in is a queer history tour, a Black history tour, a queer tango class, um, a trip to the country where we'll have a day out in the country.
Oh, wow.
Um, so it's going to be absolutely epic, and I'm so excited. So those kind of partnerships are things that I'm literally building now, and it's a really shout out to your listeners. We've got 4 spaces left. Just either email me, contact me on LinkedIn. I can give you all the details, um, and whatever you need to know. But that's a really exciting trip that is coming together really nicely. So to answer your question, I'm building it at the moment. It's really exciting for me. It's early days. Again, I'm being authentic. It's early days, but I'm confident that it's gonna be great, and more partnerships will evolve.
They will, most definitely. So what lessons have you learned as a founder?
Oh, many, many lessons. Lesson number one, your job, the number one job is to solve problems. Everything is about solving problems. I didn't know how to shoot travel content. I didn't know how to build a website, write newsletters, write my LinkedIn posts. I didn't know about my voice, but all of those things, what I stood for, what I wanted to do as in detail. I had to figure all those things out. I had to figure out how do I build an audience? How do I keep them engaged? Um, that's just on the marketing. And then how do I build this thing where I'm planning trips for people and putting hosted events on? I don't know. I've got to find out. So I think my lesson is remember that as an entrepreneur, you're a problem solver. And the more problems that you solve in your business, that's how you that's the only thing that's going to move you forward. So that's sort of lesson number one. Two, I think my second lesson is around asking for help. I'm that guy that I just try and do it all on my own. I don't want to bother people. But, oh, Steve, people are out there like yourself, Charles, out there willing to help, wanting to help, either use their platform or use their experience or use their networks because it's rewarding. So stop trying to do it all yourself, ask for help. Um, the biggest lesson, I mean, I even paid a very well known sort of travel um, a travel creator. I said, look, I'll pay you. Can I just get an hour of your time? And he was fantastic. It was the best, well spent. I mean, it wasn't that much, but the very, very well, really well structured advice. Like, Steve, do this, do this, do this. Don't do this, do this, do this. So tap in to people who are further ahead than you. It just um, helps you that problem solving and gives you some direction.
So tell us, how do you measure success in your business?
The numbers, I think the lifeblood of a business is sales, right, or income or profit. So that is one thing. But also think about the impact that I'm having on the people that I'm talking to. So, for instance, a post that I put out today and seeing that reaction for me is a mark of success because it's actually resonated, and it's until it resonates with people that they actually take action. Um, Either booking something with me or getting in touch or just engaging. So that's the measure for me as well. The other thing I would say is, how do I feel? A measure of success is this fulfilling to me? Is this lighting me up? Am I feeling joy doing this? That otherwise, why bother? Like I've tried so many things that just didn't hit the mark. So a measure of success isn't just about, oh, I'm making so much money. It's about, am I feeling joy and fulfilled in what I'm doing? Does it feel like I'm going towards my purpose? Yes, that's a success.
Well, you know something? I think, I mean, your measures are wonderful. But, I'll just tell you from the outside looking in, your success was when you started. But I can also say that your success, as you're seeing now, is going to be immeasurable because I don't think it's going to be more so about the numbers or the values that you have. Because with you being a people person and with this being about people, this is going to be about how many people you bring into the fold.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as you're bringing people into the fold, that's your success. Because
Yeah.
as you bring more people in, then that's more value that's going to push you out.
Oh, yes, preach. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, 100%. If I can impact people, bring them together, bring them in, because the one thing about, especially things like vacations and trips, they stay with you. They're things that you remember. You might not remember a shirt that you bought 2 years ago, but you do a really good trip, a really good holiday. You remember that. You talk about it. You talk about it to your friends. So bringing people together, like you say, and then how it radiates out. Yeah, true. Completely agree.
So let's talk a little bit over let's move over to your project management and professional skills. Hello?
Uh, just say that again. I think the sound was just.
Your camera went out. We're going to move over to your project management and professional skills.
Um, I, around my professional, just sorry, Charles, the sound really just cut out. Just give me one more go. Just repeat the question for us again.
Oh, okay. How has project management shaped your approach to travel curation?
Ah, right, okay. I think I've got it. So, for me, it's about that kind of, how can I put this? Trying to ensure that people have such a good experience when they kind of travel with me that they want to tell other people. I think that's really important, and that shows kind of the level of professionalism. It's not just about reviews, it's about radiating that energy out. So you've had a really good experience, and now it's time to tell other people, and those recommendations, and kind of, you know, then book your next trip and influence people to travel. I think I just wish everybody can do it. I know we all have different budgets, but even within your own city, within your own town, where can you be adventurous? And when I say adventure, it doesn't need to be extreme hiking mountains. It could just be coming out of your comfort zone, and doing something different that you wouldn't have done, meeting different kind of people. That's still, for me, that's still adventurous if you're outside of your comfort zone.
So, what tools or systems do you rely on to manage complex itineraries?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just losing sound a little bit.
So,
Um,
what tools or systems do you rely on to manage complex itineraries?
okay, so I mean, I think one of the things that I've learned from kind of where I started in travel was around, you know, it's always comes back to the people. It comes back to the people aspect and that curiosity of, um, what do people want? What do people kind of really want? What kind of experiences do they really want? And just seeing that from the different aspects, whether that's as cabin crew, as a flight attendant, but through my own experiences going to different countries, um, but also looking at from that gay aspect, what do people need in our space? One of those things is seeing people who look like them, experiencing these things and being really enthusiastic about it, because that's the stuff that's going to inspire them to do that trip. Um, so yeah, those early experiences for me really kind of shape how I see things.
Steve, your camera's off.
The sound.
Your camera.
Just 1 second, Charles. I'm having. Right. Can you hear me any better?
No, I can hear you, but your camera is off. Like we don't see you.
Camera. Uh,
There you go.
okay. Uh, you still sound quite robotic, so I'm not sure if oh, this is something.
There you
Can
go.
can you see me? Can you see me now? Okay.
Yes. Yes. So how do you coordinate logistics across multiple destinations?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Charles. I'm having some technical issues. You sound very robotic. I can't actually kind of hear you on your side.
Um, okay.
Um, 1 second. Yeah. All I can hear is a little bit of sound, but I can't hear you quite. But if you
Okay.
try again, I'll listen in.
Okay. How do you coordinate logistics across multiple destinations?
Okay, around multiple destinations.
Yes.
Yeah. So I, I think it's the way that you can. So the way that you plan it with multiple destinations, what you're trying to do is you're trying to fit in. Again, it goes back to the rhythm. So one of the things I really love is a really good road trip. Love a really good road trip because that allows you to get to multiple destinations, but do it in your own rhythm, making sure that if you can, you know, frequent those queer businesses, those LGBTQ businesses, if you can, those guest houses, those hotels, and connecting with the community along the way. But it starts with good planning. It starts with making sure that the research is done so that when you actually arrive in a place, you're not sort of wasting time. You've got your plan for freedom, you've got your plan for chilling, you've got your plan for the stuff that you want to see. Um, and that just makes the whole experience a lot more smoother. Um, it's more challenging if you're sort of flying from sort of one country to another country and then you're flying to another country. But it is possible. It's about that planning well in advance and making sure that you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's in everything that you're doing.
So what's the most challenging project you've managed so far?
Right. Okay. So in terms of project management, so my journey with project management is sort of in the corporate world. So when I left flying and moved into project management, and that was really so it was a government project that I was doing, which it was good. It wasn't too challenging. I think one of the challenges that I had as a project manager was when I freelanced and I did. Oof, it was a media project that I had to do. So this media project was in the podcasting, in kind of the podcasting world. Really fascinating. It was a small company, and we got some government funding, and we had to just produce not just a podcast, but produce um, kind of other aspects to it as well in terms of like kind of funding streams. Um, and it was challenging because you're looking at coming from something that is very rigid, being in the corporate world, and then trying to project manage something that is super creative and creative individuals that didn't really like the rigidity of your general project management. They just wanted to kind of get together and do this, but I had to sort of be very firm to say, right, we've got a chunk of money, we've got to go through these steps and make sure that we report back to the sponsors on that. So that was quite a challenging kind of project that I managed quite recently actually. But it was good. It turned out all right, and the outcomes were good.
How do you balance creativity with structure in your work?
In terms of structure, um, so I think it's important to have structure. I'm quite a creative person, but by having plans, having documentation, having milestones that you know that you've hit, that allows you to have the structure that you need. But also, it's about the outcome. So if you're looking, there's a great quote that says, start with the end in mind. So when you know what you're trying to achieve and you're working backwards, it ensures that you get that structure that you need. And then applying it to travel, what does that end holiday, what does the end of the holiday look like? What do you want to feel at the end of this vacation, at the end of this trip? What do you want to make sure that you've seen? What do you want to make sure that kind of, if you don't see it, it's not a big deal. What are those big things that you want to do? So if I start with that, what are your interests? How do you want to feel? What do you want to come home thinking and feeling? I can work out the structure that will get you there from the start. And it's not the same for everybody. Some people want to do a trip that's really, really oh, um, full of energy and has a lot of packed things into it. Some people just want something very relaxed. Maybe if it's a birthday, an anniversary, those things, a big like your 40th, your 50th, your 60th, those kind of trips um, are different to something, where you're sort of going away for the weekend. So it really depends on what the trip is and what the outcome is.
So, how do you ensure inclusivity in every project you design?
So how do I ensure inclusivity? So for me, inclusivity is about ensuring that the group gets what they want. So you might have a family, for instance. How can I make sure that the kids are included? How can I make sure that the parents get what they want? Sometimes what I've seen with family holidays is, oh, it's all about the kids. We've got to make sure we do all these things for the kids. Well, that's not super inclusive because the parents are on vacation as well and they need their time, they need their space, and they're included. So we want to make sure that everyone gets kind of what they want from the trip. So that's kind of one aspect of inclusivity. When I think about kind of accessibility as well, if there's someone who has specific needs, making sure that I take that into consideration and making sure that the trip feels inclusive kind of for everybody as well. Um, yeah, I would say those are the main ones.
So, what role does collaboration play in your success?
I just say that again. What?
What role does collaboration play in your success?
Yeah, collaboration. In terms of collaboration, I think collaborating with other partners. So that has been kind of the main thing in terms of my success to date is ensuring that I'm collaborating. And for me, that means making sure that I'm emailing back, making sure that I'm asking the question, is this all right for you? How does that work for you? Making sure that I'm getting that kind of a buy-in from the partners, but also from the people and my clients as well. Making sure that I collaborate and take those elements from the different um, kind of aspects of what they want out of a trip, so that they really do feel that they're involved. I want to make sure that I'm going back to them. Okay, is this okay? Do you want this? Do you want this option? Do you want option one, two, or three? All of that stuff makes it feel like it's a collaboration between me and the clients, but also between myself and the partners that I'm working with and my contacts on the ground. Um, so yeah, that's how I think collaboration is. You can't do anything without it. You've got to be able to, and as a people person, that's quite easy because I get on well with people. Just by asking questions, giving people options, and listening, you find that the collaboration comes quite easy.
Well, we talked about Black history, and I told you we do Black History 365. And I asked you who's the most influential person in Black history in your life and career. You told me Barack Obama. Can you tell us why is Black history important to you personally and professionally?
Okay, so for me, and I, and I might have a different view because being in the UK, but Barack Obama, I've read his books and I like the way I like what he stands for. I like the way he comes across, and I like that he's been, the first black president of the United States. That's a huge achievement. I follow him every day on social media, and just the way he comes across, the way he comes across with his family, the way he presents himself, and I see him as a role model just in terms of the way he carries himself, the way he ran his campaign, the things he stood for. He was saying different things, and I suppose I take that when I think about Outland Adventures. And we talked about this earlier in the conversation about being authentic and being true to yourself. And I think that's why people trusted him because he was completely, and he still is, authentic when he talks about not only his politics, but his personal life, his initiatives that he's going through. And so that's why he's a role model. And I like that even though he's no longer president, he still is presidential, and he still is helping people from all communities, including, the black community, LGBTQ community, um, and he's been public about that. He's never shied away to say, "Oh yeah, I don't want anything to do with the LGBTQ community." And so for me, that's sort of fantastic, personally and professionally, for those two aspects.
So, how do you integrate Black history into your travel experience?
Um, oh, that's a good question. So I think it comes back to, again, being authentic within travel, being being authentic in travel, doing what you feel is like doing things at your own pace and in your own way, rather than going back to what we were saying earlier, feeling forced to go on certain types of kind of package holidays where it might not be your vibe, and that's okay. We've got options. There's other ways that you can do things. So that authenticity means that you'll have a much better experience. And I think that's what's important to me. And yeah, yeah. And I always sort of put Barack Obama, just going back to that point, in that box of authenticity. And so that's what I take with me in everything that I'm doing in my business and then how I'm dealing with people.
Okay. So, what lessons from Black history resonate most with your journey?
Or just repeat that one more for me, Charles. Sorry, slowly.
What lessons from Black history resonate most with your journey?
Um,
Do you need me to say it again?
yeah, please. It's really cutting out.
Okay. Okay. What lessons
What lesson?
from Black history resonate most with your journey?
Okay. What lessons from Black history? Um, I, when I think about my own history,
Mhm.
I think about the struggles that my parents had to face when they came over to the UK. The UK was very different. It was a harsh, harsh place for immigrant families, especially from the Caribbean coming over. So, in terms of the lessons, I think that resilience is a huge one where a lot of the Caribbean, the Black community, were in kind of pockets of London and they had to face kind of racism, discrimination every, every day in everything they do. So, when I think about Black history, I know there's lots, but I think about my own history and what they had to go through, which is quite um, kind of particular. But seeing that resilience up close, that hard working work, really good work ethic, it's a part of Black history. It's a part of what kind of we've all had to do, right? But seeing that in your family and seeing that in your parents and in your older brothers and sisters, those kind of lessons stuck with me, and I don't take it for granted that I have the opportunities now here because of those choices that they made.
Mhm. So, can you tell us what about Obama's leadership style inspires you?
Um, I think it's seeing people. What inspires me is seeing. It's just kind of seeing the joy on people's faces. I really do think, and I feel like I've said this before, travel is such a good way to learn about yourself, um, to learn about life, to learn life lessons, um, and then seeing people just enjoy their travels and enjoy what life and what this world has to offer in terms of like opportunities and scenery and different music and different tastes and different people and different cultures. I find it really restorative and it inspires me that I can get to travel, which is great, but also that I can help people have those similar experiences and come home with some really amazing stories that they wouldn't have had if they just went to work and came home.
So, how can you correlate that with Obama's leadership?
Um, so how can I relate that to what was the last two words?
Obama's leadership.
Um, because I feel like Obama was that curator. I feel that he inspired the way he spoke, the way he came across, really did it. Well, he inspired me in terms of, there's other ways to do things. There's other ways that you can live your life. There's goals that you can achieve. Again, as the first black president, he really made me feel that things were possible. Is the kind of takeaway, and the fact that I get to travel and do things. I now have goals, and I can build a business. Again, that comes from seeing people achieve, people like Barack Obama achieve what he did and thinking, oh, Steve, you can do that. So as a leader, inspiring people, setting the example, that's kind of what he did for me.
So his speaking was inspiring to you, And that's why you
Absolutely.
relate that to your other people, to your clientele by, by inspiring with your words.
Yeah, 100%. It's a domino effect. Yeah, when you see somebody do that, and then you want to emulate that person, and then you pass it down, or you live in that certain way. I think that's how it works.
How do his values of hope and change connect to your mission?
Hope and yeah, hope and change. I feel that's going back to what we were saying. The post that I put on LinkedIn today. I feel those two words. I feel that's kind of what my life is about, and I feel like that's what Outbound Adventures is about. I feel that there's been moments of hope when I've hoped that this would go well. I hoped that Outbound Adventures would be a success. But also, I feel that I've been changed in terms of how I now, excuse me, move through the world, and that I can change my life, but also change others' lives. So that sort of message of kind of hope and change is is really key. And I think about the future, my own future, and I now have hope. I now don't have to do that horrible kind of corporate job. I have hope of better things, and I can create a change in my life personally, but also of the clients that I help and those people that I bring in, right?
Mhm. Well, I'll tell you like this. When I think about Barack Obama with the hope and change, and the way I look at how you're establishing what you're doing, when I see the hope is with you being the only black LGBTQ or black man in that industry that's doing what you're doing and hopefully bringing more people over into the space. The change is is those things that you're doing where you're actually bringing these people together from different walks of life, that is ethnicities to genders to whatever. You're bringing all these people together. That's the change. And so your camera just went out again.
Yeah,
See,
exactly. I
your camera just went out. There you go. Now you're back. I can't hear you though. I can't hear you.
okay. Am I back?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think I can just about hear you.
Yeah, so I was just saying that that's what I see as the hope and the change. And so as
Mm,
the hope and the change goes, that means that most likely, with the success that you're bringing, it seems like there's going to be more and more people most likely, and what the hope is that more people that look like you transcend over. And so as the more of you transcend over, that means that the travel industry is only going to get bigger, broader,
there we go.
better, but it's also going to get more colorized.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's it. And I'm glad you made that kind of summary and that distinction because you're right. It, I feel blessed that I have the opportunity to be that hope and change, like you say, and then and bring everybody on. So that, yeah, that's a good point.
Yes, sir. And so, final question for you. How do you hope to inspire others the way Obama inspired you?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think for me, it's about kind of sharing his message, sharing his not just the things that on social media, but just kind of sharing that ethos around hope and change, sharing, um, I suppose, yeah, just sharing kind of that message and with people and embodying that. It's not just about repeating the words that he said. It's sort of taking his example and trying to live kind of that way. So yeah, that's how I think it's by example, definitely by example.
Mhm. So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom, encouragement that you'd like to leave for our audience, as well as tell people about, your website, how they can connect with you on your social media, all of those good things.
Okay, in terms of words of wisdom, follow your dreams, keep trying. I'm of a certain age, and you just got to keep trying, keep pushing those boundaries. My favorite word is freedom. And whatever you do, does it make you feel more free? Does it make you feel more free inside? Does it make you feel more expansive? Like you want to do things, like you want to go out into the world and try things. So I think that only comes with failing, trying, failing, trying, but keep going. So that those would be my word of wisdom. And you can find me at outboundadventures.beehive.com. Social media, Instagram is outbound adventures underscore. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn every day. So if you just search for Steve Morris, um, I'll come up. And if you put outbound adventures, I'm sure there'll be links as well. But seriously, audience, if you're interested in coming with me to Argentina, small group of like-minded professional um, black gay people from the UK, from the US, give me a shout and I'll send you all the details that you need. You can just contact me on LinkedIn, just DM me, and I'll get back to you straight away. It's going to be an epic trip. But Charles, thanks so much for having me. It's been a joy to be on your show. I'm super grateful, super grateful. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to have you here, for one thing, and I'm glad that that you're able to not only get the message out to people for the services that you're doing, but also that people get the opportunity to see you as an African American gay man in the UK that's doing something that's not just trend setting, but is industry changing, and how they too can be a part of that and learn to maybe move and shake and make some things happen the way you did. I think that means more than anything, because I mean, hey, we want to see everybody be successful, but I think that when it just comes to our community, in general and as a whole, there's a lot of things that we need to not just learn from each other, but work together and get together to make that change that we're speaking of. Because I
Absolutely.
think it's very, very important, but also I think it's that building block that gets us going, that continues to build those mountains, those bridges, those cities, those communities, just as we'd like to see the way they were originally, get them back there to that spot and then some. And so, for those of you that are watching on all eight of our channels, I appreciate you for taking this time to be with us tonight and to watch this engaging show. What we just learned from Steve is that when you decide that you're ready to branch out and you're ready to make that difference and to make that change that you want to see, you have to be that change. You can't be afraid to do it, because anything we do is going to be a challenge. It's going to have us second guessing. But if it's what we want to do and we got our mind set to do it, then we just go do it. This is a great way for those of you, especially in the LGBTQ community that's thinking about travel, please give Steve a shout, because I can honestly tell you that not only uh, is what he's doing one of those things that's going to be a trend set all across the world, because I think once this takes off and gets to that point where he's trying to get it to, believe me, we'll all remember that name, Steve Morris, and we will also remember America in Black and White because it's definitely going to make that difference. So, but for those of you that are watching on those YouTube channels, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel and enabled all notifications, I would appreciate your support if you would please do so, because you would have the opportunity to catch all the shows live, as well as you're able to go back and watch all the previous recorded shows and get the messages from past guests that you're looking for that's going to forge differences in your life going forward. Also, for those of you that have not joined our community, we have a community. And in that community, there are two parts to it. One side is where you can watch the podcast. The other side is where you can actually network. You can post. You can also like posts. And in the process of that, you'll see other resources that are there. But we're actually getting to the point that as you do all of these things that you're doing, you're also getting points. And so we're going to have those points redeemable at some point in time. Most likely we'll have that all set by the top of the year. You'll be able to redeem your points. Also, we have a magazine that we have that I would appreciate if you guys would go, and especially if you go into the community, you'll be able to see the magazine, and you will also be able to subscribe to the magazine, and you can get your copy there as well. I want to thank you again, Steve, and I want to thank all of you that was watching tonight. Please come back again tomorrow night, as we will have another great episode here of America in Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. I'm your host, Charles King, and you all have a great evening, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you, Steve, and I will definitely be reaching